Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers both need a complete reset. Whether that means Mike Tomlin steps away from the team, he goes to a brand new team, or the Steelers say, hey, we're going to move on from you. Let's go get some help in another direction. Or they can keep him around and just completely reset the entire thing. This team needs that. Because right now, they're not a good football team. The last 3 games have shown that. They got blown out by the Arizona Cardinals, completely destroyed by the Indianapolis Colts. And in the first half against the New England Patriots, it wasn't pretty. And this is just not a one-season incident. See, a lot of fans come out now and say, hey, this is the season that's going to mark Mike Tomlin off. It was way before this. I wasn't the biggest Mike Tomlin fan when they had Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown. I'm going to tell you why. Because they did not achieve as much as they could have with that roster. You mean to tell me that you had all that talent and you couldn't make one Super Bowl appearance with that team? Generational talent. And they couldn't make the Super Bowl. I understand. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, the big bad wolves of the AFC. But what's more to it than just that? That was the best time to strike when the iron was hot. They didn't do so. And it's going to be hard to make the Super Bowl with the way that this team is constructed right now. Kenny Pickett is a solid quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. He's solid because the team looked completely different on the offensive end with him. He didn't turn the football over. Mr. Trubisky, horrible. Should not be in the NFL. He shouldn't even be a college quarterback at this point. He's terrible. But it's more than just the quarterbacks with this team. This offensive line is brutal. It's terrible. They can't block for anyone up front. Mason Cole is one of the worst centers in the NFL. Move off him and fix the entire interior of the offensive line. That's what they're going to have to do. Whether they keep Tomlin or not, that's one thing that's apparent with this team. This offensive line has been brutal ever since Mike Munchak left this team. He was no longer the offensive lineman coach. They have not looked the same on the offensive line front. They need to fix that. And the coaching hires of Mike Tomlin have not helped out either. And you look at the wide receivers with this team. You got a lot of questionable character concerns with this team. Because you look at George Pickens, you're not blocking down the field for Jalen Warren. You say, I don't want to end up like Tank Dell. For one, Tank Dell was in a QB sneak formation. You were not in a QB sneak formation. And the reason why I know George Pickens is lying, he didn't want to deal with an injury. A couple weeks before that, he was blocking down the field just fine when they were beating the Cincinnati Bengals. So miss me with that. And Deontay Johnson in that game was pouting as well. They need to grow up. You get paid to play football, not to sit up here and complain. And I understand the place they're coming from right now. It's not pretty because they're not putting up those big time numbers. They believe that they are big time wide receivers. They could be. But the way this offense is constructed right now, they're not big time wide receivers because they don't know how to use these wide receivers. Pat Freiermuth had a very good game against the Cincinnati Bengals a couple weeks ago. You look at him now, can barely get things going. A lot of that is because the quarterback is out. Kenny Pickett brought stability to the team. Even though he's not a true franchise quarterback right now, he gave this team the best shot at winning football games. And that's my biggest fear with this team moving forward. They're going to look at that, and I do believe the Rooney's are going to say, hey, Kenny Pickett won us more games and he lost us. Let's bring him back and let's bring back Coach Tomlin too, and let's run this back. I don't know how that's going to work long term with this team, but that's my biggest fear right now with this team is that they're going to go out there and say, let's bring back Kenny Pickett. Let's bring back Coach Tomlin. Let's run this thing around because if Kenny Pickett can stay healthy, they could possibly be a playoff team. That's what the Rooney's are probably thinking. And you don't believe me, this is the same organization that's held on to Mike Tomlin for all these years because he hasn't had a quote unquote losing season. And that brings me to the faults of Mike Tomlin. Not all of this is on Mike Tomlin this season. It's not all on Mike Tomlin. Hiring Matt Canada and letting him stay with this team for 3 years definitely hurt this team and set this team back because the offense is so bad right now. You essentially have two coaches working on this offense, Coach Sullivan and Coach Faulkner. I understand that one takes care of the meeting throughout the week and then one calls the play on game day. Essentially, you have two offensive coordinators. Let's just be completely honest here. I've seen both of them with a play call sheet in their hand. That's how bad this offense is. That is on Coach Tomlin because you could not hire the right offensive coordinator. And before Matt Canada, you had Randy Fichtner, a terrible offensive coordinator as well. The philosophy that Mike Tomlin has with the Steelers organization is completely broken. The players on the offensive end don't believe in him anymore because he always says, let's run the football, let's stop the run. Right now, they can't consistently run the football, and they're damn sure aren't stopping the run because guess what? You don't have Quan Alexander and you don't have Cole Holcomb. You don't have your two best interior linebackers. So right now it's hard for you to do anything against opposing running backs. Guys like Trey Sermon are having career days against you. Ezekiel Elliott in the receiving game is tearing you up. James Conner in the run game is tearing you up as well. A lot of that's on injuries. That's not on Coach Tomlin. What is on Coach Tomlin are some of the formations that he has ran with this team. Why do you have safeties in the box when you don't need to have safeties in the box? And the thing is, Coach Tomlin is a defensive head coach. I understand that Coach Austin calls the plays, but Mike Tomlin has a huge input on that. You're too light in the box. And you have those guys on the island on the outside. Joey Porter Jr. has some good plays, and he has some horrific plays as well. Joey Porter Jr.'s bad plays are very bad. He's either getting burned or he's holding for a major penalty that sets the team up to score a field goal or a touchdown. He's done that twice in the last couple weeks. He did that against the Arizona Cardinals, and he did that against the Indianapolis Colts when Alec Pierce was going on a fly route and he was tugging him too much. Just let him go. And Patrick Peterson is not the same corner he was a couple years ago. Patrick Peterson, borderline, shouldn't be in the NFL at some points of times throughout the season. You remember what Brandon Ayuk did to him in week 1? Patrick Peterson is definitely in the back end of his career. So you also have a secondary that needs work as well. I don't expect for them to win many games moving forward because their safeties are decimated. You're not going to have DeMonte Casey for the rest of the season because he got the illegal hit on Michael Pittman Jr. Mika Fitzpatrick will miss time dealing with that knee injury. So you're dealing with a lot of problems on your defensive side now. But the bad thing with that is this is a team that only won games solely off their defense alone. Look at a lot of the games this season. When they beat the Cleveland Browns in the first game, TJ Watt got a fumble for 6. Alex Highsmith got a pick 6. You didn't have to do much on the offensive end to go out there and score points and win the game against the Los Angeles Rams. They're getting turnovers. They're getting interceptions and fumbles to put this offense in short fields. That can only work so many times throughout the NFL season, and it's starting to get exposed. It's not all on Coach Tomlin because the last couple of drafts with this team have been terrible and very questionable. Kenny Pickett is still a very questionable quarterback with this team. I'm leaning towards he's not going to be a franchise quarterback territory, but we will see. Give him more time to see if he will be a quarterback with this team long term. The only thing that I ask is to go out there and get a veteran quarterback that could come in and push Kenny Pickett and possibly can start over Kenny Pickett and could be a better option than him. That's all I ask for. Or look into the NFL draft to try to see if you can just get a franchise quarterback in the first round if that's possible. But the last couple of drafts haven't been pretty. Najee Harris being selected in the first round, that was always a question mark to me. I like the talent of Najee, just not for this team. You had an offensive line problem with aging Big Ben, but instead you want to squeeze the last juice you could out of Big Ben by getting him a young running back with a quarterback that can't push the ball down the field. Yeah, Kevin Colbert, that was a great idea to do. That's on Kevin Colbert. You could say, well, Mike Tomlin had an input on it. At the end of the day, the guy that's selecting the players is Kevin Colbert. And they haven't been good as of late. Alex Highsmith is the only player that's still with this team since that 2020 draft class. He's the only one. Everyone else has either been traded or cut from this team. That is rare for this team to miss out on damn near in the entire draft class. For them not to have any production on this team. And the 2020 draft class wasn't that long ago. Alex Highsmith, still a very good passer with this team, He's not the same guy that he was last season, but he's still a very good pass rusher. TJ Watt, obviously one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Cameron Hayward's still very good as well. So they have talent on the defensive side. It's just the offensive side to where it's just horrible. But Coach Tomlin's philosophy with this team is falling on deaf ears. He's always talking with the wide receivers now because they're frustrated. And Coach Tomlin has been a coach in the past to get ran over by players. Antonio Brown did what he wanted before he exited with this team. Big Ben essentially was getting coaches fired. You heard about the horror stories that Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown had about Big Ben, even though Big Ben is one of the best quarterbacks in franchise history. Big Ben essentially said, hey, Todd Haley is no longer working out. He was having problems with him. Mike Tomlin said, man, you know what? Let's go with Randy Fichtner. He's a Big Ben guy. Quarterbacks coach. Was not good. And Todd Haley was the last decent offense coordinator with this team. Was he perfect? No. First of all, no coach is just 100% perfect. But he was way better than Matt Canada, and he was way better than Randy Fichtner. The only thing with Todd Haley, he wanted to pass the football too much at times. And like I mentioned before, Mike Tomlin is the guy that's old school. Let's run the football. Let's stop the run. And they could not score in the red zone situations. Majority of the time, when it came to red zone offenses, Todd Haley was not able to get it done. But when it came to just putting up big points when they were 20 and 30 yards out, he could do that. He had a lot of good route concepts and a lot of good things going. Right now, when I look at the Steelers team, with and even after Matt Canada, it's pretty much the same plays. You're having a bunch of sideline routes with George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. And this is my one thing with George Pickens as well. He's not a wide receiver that's going to go out there and constantly separate from other guys. He's not a great route runner. He's a good route runner. When I speak of being a great route runner, I'm talking about guys like Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams. But George Pickens has very good talent. They just don't know how to use him. And having him run up the sideline and just being close to the sideline is not going to get that done. Move him around inside the slot, outside the slot. Let him run some sluggo routes. Get him on some out routes. Get him on some quick in cuts. Do some things like that to get him going. Stack him behind Deontay Johnson. And what's funny enough, when they were stacking them in the Raiders game, they had a lot of success. And then you have Pat Freiermuth on the inside. Just put him on the outside. Just move guys around. It's like they're stuck in that old school philosophy, and that does come down from Coach Tomlin. Even though he's majority on defense, that does come down to his philosophy. That's why one part of me is saying, hey, let him go, trade him for some draft picks and get some things going. If they do want to move off of Coach Tomlin, they're going to have to go out and get an offensive-minded head coach, because you look at the way of the land right now in the NFL. Offensive coaches are taking over. You look at the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, offensive-minded. Kyle Shanahan for San Francisco 49ers, offensive-minded. Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, offensive-minded. And speaking of Andy Reid, the Philadelphia Eagles let him go because things basically stagnated with the team. Similar to what's going on right now with the Steelers. It's stagnated. Mike Tomlin's not a bad coach. I'm not saying that. I do believe that he's still a very good head coach and he can get some things done. But when it comes to a rebuilding process, I don't think that he's cut out for this. He's always had been a coach that had elite level talent. And right now, they don't have that pure elite level talent. George Pickens is good. He's not an elite wide receiver just yet. Deontay Johnson is good. He's not an elite wide receiver just yet. And we may never see them be elite wide receivers in this system. Antonio Brown was a huge game changer with this team. Ben Roethlisberger was definitely elite with this team. Kenny Pickett is not even close to being elite. So when you have the right pieces around, Mike Tomlin can make a true Super Bowl push. But with the way this team is constructed right now, can't get things going. And I know what a lot of people are going to say. He failed with Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown. What do you mean a true Super Bowl push? Dealt with a lot of injuries when they went against the Patriots at times in the playoffs and when they went against other teams as well. Antonio Brown either wasn't 100% or Le'Veon Bell was dealing with a lot of injuries. But if you can just get him a fully healthy offense with star power, he can get some things going. Just not for this team. And that is what Steeler Nation is talking about. They're tired of just going slightly above 500 every single year. That's not the standard for the Steelers. The standard for this team is to go out there and compete for Super Bowls every single year. And I've said this in the past over and over again. You can go back and look at the videos. I don't care about him never having a losing season. That doesn't matter, because essentially you not winning a Super Bowl or making a true Super Bowl push is a losing season in my eyes. Every single team should try to go out there and win the Super Bowl. And if you're not doing that, you're just wasting veterans' time. You're just wasting players' time in general. In the last couple of years, they have been wasting time, and it's just like a car. It's not going forward, and it's not going in reverse. The tires are just spinning right now. Coach Tomlin may need to leave this team, or this team just needs to part ways with him, and they just both need a complete reset. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about this? Should they hang on to Coach Tomlin? Should they let him finish out his contract? And he has 1 year left on his deal. They could obviously let him finish out next year and just say, hey, bring back Kenny Pickett and let's just see what we have left with this current roster, and let's see what we have left with Mike Tomlin. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys.